We're crossing over now to Brussels to speak to a very experienced music director, orchestral conductor, and leader in every sense of the word, Bartholomeus-Henri VAN de VELDE. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Saskia.
Beginning with how it all started. Was it your dream from childhood that you were going to become a conductor? Do you hail from a musical family?
Well, actually, no. Well, I am from a musical family, but my father was an amateur cello player. But I never wanted to be a conductor. Actually, my dream was being a rock star. That was my dream. And
wow.
To tell you the truth, my idols that time, then you know about what kind of age I have, was Alice Cooper and Roger Daltrey. That were my idols.
And
then my father said, please, that are nice people, very good music, but try to play the violin first. So I went to the violin, and that's how I became in the classical music, actually.
And then you went on to become a musician. Was there a sort of defining moment that you said, I want to become a musician?
That I wanted to be already from when I was very young kid, because as I told you, I want to be a rock star. And I was always singing to my friends when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I was singing all the time, imitating these rock stars. But my father showed me the way to the classical music.
Yes. How did you move from being a violinist in the orchestra to the conductor?
Well, actually, as I said, rock star means you want to be on stage. I want to entertain the people always, entertain the people with music. So as you have to start somehow, somewhere. So I started to study the violin. And during the vacations, we didn't go to the beach, but we went to the Salzburger Festspiel with my family all the time. Each summer, I was watching the great conductors like Karel Böhm, Herbert von Karajan, Claudio Abbado. I saw them all live doing the rehearsals with Vienna Philharmonic, thanks to my father.
Yes.
And then finally, I found it so fantastically that I said, well, being a conductor must be great. But before becoming a conductor, you need to know all the steps.
Yes.
So I wanted first to taste what is the life in an orchestra, what is the life in a professional orchestra. Before I go in front of this group of musicians, I want to know what is the real life inside. And honestly, I think this is the best way before you become a conductor to taste the inside life of an orchestra. That's the reason I became a violin player.
Yes, I do concur, because you see it from different perspectives, of course, as well. I think it depends. It doesn't really matter what the profession is, whether it's a musician or whether you're in the kitchen and you start by knowing what it means to wash, dishes for 8 hours.
Exactly.
What are the special attributes, do you think, of a conductor?
Flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
You seem to have also a lot of management skills, because in 1996 you founded the Charlemagne Orchestra of Europe.
Yes.
Why and how did that come about?
Well, that was actually thanks to my conducting teacher, Charles Broek. And Charles Broek was a wonderful conducting teacher. He was 84, by the way. And he was asking me a few questions. And he asked me, what is a violin player? And I answered, well, that is somebody who has a violin. And then the next question was, what's a flute player? I think that's somebody who has a flute. And then he asked me the question, what's a conductor?
Right.
And then I answered, of course, that's somebody who has an orchestra. But I don't have an orchestra. And having an orchestra like this right away is very difficult. So I had the idea to make myself one orchestra, and I succeeded during 17 years.
That's absolutely amazing. How did it all start, and how did you find the musicians, and where were you based? Tell us more about that, because I think that's incredibly unique.
Yes, I think it's unique. The musicians, of course, that were my colleagues, and my colleagues knew very well that I didn't fit in the orchestra, because slowly your real character comes out in the real life. And my colleagues said, even many guest conductors where I was playing, please, Bart, stop playing violin, make an orchestra, go to conduct. So everybody said that to me. So I listened to them, and all my colleagues played with me in orchestra. Also, one life lesson is you have to choose a certain level in life. So I chose a certain level where I want to come with this orchestra.
Yes.
So the first concert, I had 40 people in the hall. Of course, everybody was a little bit disappointed, but it's normal. It was a new orchestra. We had no money to do marketing,
Yes.
so we did everything by ourselves. What did I do with these 40 people? I put these 40 people on the first rows. Because when you're sitting in the first row, you don't see backwards. You look to the orchestra. You listen to the orchestra. You don't see behind you if the hall is empty or not empty, because you're sitting on the first row.
Yes.
So I put them all on the first row and I spoke to them, and I explained what was my meaning with this orchestra. Next concert, I asked them to bring 2 friends with. So 40 plus 40 plus 40 is 120. And after 70 years, we filled up the hall with 2,200 people as audience. So it worked.
It did work.
But now how to find the money?
Yes.
I always did with private companies and private sponsors. I went to talk to the companies. I explained them what is music, what can I do with the music, how does it work? And more people were interested. And then sometimes you have to do some, let's say, PR working. So I went to sales. And I went to sell with some companies on the sea. And I always speak about music, and that's how I became actually also Rolex ambassador. I became ambassador from BMW cars, Jaguar, and private banks. They all came, but I explained to the people what is music. And my concert also, what did I do before the concert? I went on stage 30 minutes before the concert in jeans. And I explained why we do this work, what is the composer, or a little interview with the soloist. So people felt that they are actually more living the experience than only listening at 8 o'clock in a nice dress. No.
I think that this is very, very a very, very important part and role.
Yes.
Because people actually want to be in touch, not to have that distance. And I think that there's a circle coming around. Because obviously this is how they did it in the 18th century. Yes, that's how they did it exactly. I say always I don't find the hot water out again. Maybe I use it differently, but the hot water is already a long time there. Yes. But how did all of this come to a closure in 2013? Because obviously it was working, it was thriving, you had people coming.
Yes, well, unfortunately, the banks, you know what happened in 2008, this economic crisis.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, the sponsoring atmosphere, the sponsoring world collapsed also because everybody got scared. So that means they closed everything. I had still some rich people who supported me a few years that we could go a little bit longer. But finally, the whole society changed, and before each time I had companies, they asked concerts. Today, nobody asks any more concerts. I'm not against all these festivals, rock festivals, which happens, for example, in Belgium. I'm not against that, but still, classical music is kind of level. And sometimes the society has difficulties to organize something which has a certain level in the world. I'm not criticizing the others. Everybody has the right to live. But you should not punish the people who try to educate people. Sometimes the people ask me, how did you come to this leadership thing? Well, I had always to explain how our orchestra works to get the money. So finally the companies found out that there is a link between leadership in the art and leadership in the business.
Yes.
We do exactly the same thing, only our product is different. And they understood that. And that's how I built everything up. But unfortunately, like you said, maybe it's not the right answer for the question why it stopped. It stopped because economically people are less interested or are scared to put money in classical music.
Is this, do you think, because they don't see a refund on their money or anything sort of tangible? It's not a product, for example, that you sell to the masses and you're going to see high returns.
Exactly. But the return is more in education and the return is more in intelligence. And sometimes people are afraid to invest in these things because, as you state very well, there is no really or not really a direct return. But I can tell you, for example, from all the companies who started with me, they were also scared at that moment. They invited only, for example, 20 clients. After a few concerts, they came by 200 clients. Why? Because the people were interested. People want to know knowledge. And I think we have the task in the world as an artist, especially as a musical artist, to educate the people with music. In music, especially in classical music, which is my specialty,
Yes.
there is so much intelligence. For me, wonderful composers like Mozart, Beethoven, even today's real good composers, for me, they are genius. That are genius people. Who can write such a thing on paper with the brain? Not many people, I think.
No. That's why, of course, it survived. The other question that I have is if this was the situation and that you'd built it all up, is it not possible that somehow it is rebuilt?
Of course, that's a dream from me, and that's also a dream from all my musicians. Each time I meet my musicians who played with me, they ask me each time the same question. Bart, when do you start again? Bart, when do we start again? Well, if I find again the right person, I will start again. But the right person, I think sooner or later it will come again. But we need the right person. And because all the people from before, of course, they were all aged. They are now out of the circle.
Yes.
Some, unfortunately, passed away already. So now the young generation is there. And the young generation is a little bit afraid to invest in classical music. They want to invest in populism. And I think classical music is not going about populism, but classical music is about education. And the young people from these days are too much studying on benefit. What is my benefit if I do something? And their benefit is in the capitalist system. I'm not against capitalism, that's not what I'm saying, but it's too much thinking about money always. Of course we need money, but money is a tool, it's not the end result.
That's very important what you've said. Yes, it's a tool to freedom and to being able to give opportunities to others, I think.
Exactly.
Yes. Have you approached governments? Because usually governments are the ones who subsidize and who are supposed to see the cultural development of their countries.
Yes, I approached, of course, the government, but the government is so political that I didn't want to have politics in my, let's say, art or business art. I didn't want to have that. Because I had a system in my mind and I wanted to show that we can make also art without the government. And it's possible, I think.
Yes.
But we have to include the companies. And all the benefits from companies should go, I think, to education and to art. Why? Because I think this is the future. With art and education, you make the people more sensible. Not just working from 9 till 4 and to home and to watch the television. No, from 9 till 4 and then do something active. And active can be sport, but can also be art.
Mm.
And that was my idea. All the benefits from the companies should go to art.
The tax benefits have for companies who actually invest in education and the arts. Do they still exist in Belgium?
Well, I don't think now they start slowly for the film industry. Our minister from Flanders, Mr. Gat, he does it now for the film industry. But I think they should develop that also for the education and especially for the art.
Is there any sense of corporate social responsibility in Belgium that people will be perceived in a good way if they're doing something for the arts? Or is there a sense that it's still quite elitist?
Well, I think both. It's very difficult to explain in 5 minutes, of course, but I think both exist. But everywhere in Europe, not only in Europe, they want to cut orchestras. Like we said already in our little interview here, the benefit, there is no benefit from classical music. But it's normal that there is no benefit. In high-level, intelligent business or art, the benefit is different. The benefit is not in money. And we think too much the benefit should be money.
Yes.
Classical music is a construction of life. Classical music comes really from nature.
Mm.
And we should not ignore that. And I think today we ignore that much too much.
Yes. But what about beginning on relaunching on a smaller scale? Because obviously you had a full symphony concert.
Yes.
Would you consider doing a string ensemble?
Oh, yes, of course. I would. Now, of course, as you know, I give conferences. And sometimes I take a little ensemble with, and I use this ensemble to the companies to show them what is leadership through music.
What is the response?
Well, the response is very, very positive, and they ask me more and more, and I did for big companies like 400 people, even 200 people, sometimes 10 people, depends. Of course, all depends on budget too.
Yes.
But people are very, very positive about it.
So, in fact, this is another avenue which you could be opening to have conferences to offer a conference for a company to show the parallels between music and management and, of course, human resources. Because
yes, and they should not be afraid, because sometimes if you speak about classical music, people think about, like you said, it's elitist or it's not for us because it's serious. Don't worry about this. I speak as normal guy, as normal people about music like it's a daily food from us or for us. So people should not be afraid of classical music.
Human resources is, of course, the orchestra environment is an ideal human resources model, because you've got a whole team of very different people, different musicians, different personalities, often different even cultures, all sitting playing together with the same goal in mind. It's a human resources dream. Has this been something which has been of interest to companies?
Sometimes, yes, because sometimes they ask me, what does a conductor do actually? Because conductors, we are a little bit depressed sometimes because we don't make sound. I say always, what is my profession? I'm a wind maker.
Yes.
Because I move my arms, but you hear nothing. I make only wind. That's my profession, so I'm totally depressed, totally. But no, that's not what I'm doing, because as you said very well, you have a violin player, you have a double bass player, you have a flute player, you have a timpanist. They have all a different character. And what we do as a conductor, we try to put these people together to play these people together. Of course, they are all intelligent and they can do it by themselves, but it takes time. And as they say very well in business, time is money.
Yes.
So in music, it's also like that. So to get forward in a faster tempo, to say it in a more artistic way, well, you need a conductor. And if you have a good one, he gives maybe an interpretation. And all this, when there is a good interpretation, there is a good tempo, there is a good work rhythm, then everybody is smiling in the orchestra. And that's the same in a company. When the leaders of a company are good, everybody likes to work for the company. It's the same in an orchestra. If the leader is good, everybody likes to play the music.
Yes. Do you do coaching and master classes for young conductors?
Well, I have some they come, but I have to tell you honestly, I do. If somebody comes, I do, but I'm very severe about it. Why? Because I don't want to promise to people something which they can't do it. When I feel somebody is ready to be a conductor, then I do it with a big pleasure. But sometimes people want to become a conductor with the idea, I'm in the spotlight, and also they see it more like a power position. I think, honestly, if you see conducting as a power position, then you're doing the wrong thing. It has nothing to do with power.
No.
I think conducting has to do with making people happy. And if you can make people happy, then I think you are a good conductor. You know, my professor said once when I came in the beginning to Charlesbrook, and professor asked me, Mr. Van de Velde, what do you want from me? And of course, I said the question very dry, I want to become a conductor. And you know what his answer was? He told me, never I make from you a conductor. Never. I was so shocked.
Yes.
And I thought by myself, what am I doing here? And then his second sentence was, I make from you a musician, but not a conductor. And this is the biggest lesson I can give to all the students of conducting.
Do you see a future for classical music, or are you a little disillusioned?
I see always futures because I'm a positive man, but I'm also realistic. I think for the moment we are still going a little bit down in the classical music, but it's like the sea, like I told you, I was sailing through in my life, and you have to follow the waves from the sea. You have to follow the waves from life. In life, there are high moments and they are down moments. And I think for the moment, the classical music is going a little bit down because we as human beings, we invent many things, and sometimes we invent too fast.
Yes.
And we are too much in the electronic world, which is fantastic, computer and everything. But I think there will become a moment again that we will feel there is missing something in our life. And that point we didn't reach yet, but it will come soon, I think. And when we reach that point, we will feel that the human being is the most important, because all that we have, it's made by human beings. And we have to realize again that we have also something nostalgic in our body, in our mind. We have also something which we can make, which not always the computer makes for us. That we as human beings, we are capable to do so many things.
Do you believe that we have too many students?
No, because...
Music students?
I don't think so. We don't have enough students.
Not
Because
enough?
I think not enough, no.
How
Because when I was
do
young,
you
I had
say
music
that?
in my school. What?
How do you say that they're not enough? Because there seem to be many musicians who are not employed.
Yes, because there are less orchestras.
Because?
There are less orchestras. When I was young, for example, I'm still young, but when I was younger,
Yes.
I was playing operettas everywhere in the evening. I played everywhere operettas. Today, to the young people, if you say, you want to play the Lustige, the Franz de Haar operetta, which I played 100 times as a violin player. For them, it's like operetta. No, it's not good. I think the world is shifting a little bit. The people are afraid to play an operetta, for example. You can play everywhere operetta in my time. But people want to be immediately on the highest step. And I think you have to do in life step by step. And if there become more musicians, there will become, again, new groups. For example, when I was in the regular school, the high school, I had music. Now in the high school, the faculty of music is gone.
Yes.
If you want to become a musician, you have to go to an academy after the school. And then you have to go to bachelor in the conservatoire or the highest music school. And then also the system master. Personally, I think it's good, the system, bachelor and master. But honestly, I think bachelor and master is not for art world. In the art, you cannot measure how big you are. It's difficult to measure.
Yes.
I think bachelor and master and PhD and doctorate doesn't belong in the art world. That's my conviction. I think this is a mistake.
The analogy of not having enough students, though, you say that then there would be more groups, there would be a greater demand for orchestras. But at the moment, what happens to those students who graduate and you see, for example, especially if you're a flautist, and there are only 3 positions, 2 flutes and 1 piccolo in the orchestra, what's going to happen to those students if they're not prepared to think out of the box and to follow some other path of in the musical world?
Yes, I say always in the question is the answer. You gave the question and the same thing you gave the answer to. So what means that actually you say the answer, they have to think a little bit differently. I think in life it's very important to choose the right thing. Of course, choosing an instrument goes with your character, with your charisma. I don't imagine playing myself a trumpet, for example. I cannot play trumpet because it's not my instrument.
Yes.
I have a lot of friends who play trumpet and are wonderful people and I love trumpet. But I don't see touching myself a trumpet. I'm a violin player. But you have to choose what you want to do. Then you have to be realistic too. If you become a flute player, well, you know there are only 3 flutes in an orchestra. But you can also do chamber music and you can teach. But not everybody can be the first flute in an orchestra.
No.
That's one of the reasons this is high level. An orchestra is a high level position. So if you want to give more space for this instrument, you have to make more orchestras. And I think budget-wise, it's possible. It's really possible. For example, you know that I go a lot to conduct in Mexico.
Yes.
But if I see in Mexico, for example, the city where I conduct a lot, Querétaro, it's not a big city, but they built a new concert hall, brand new. here in Brussels, we have a conservatoire who has a wonderful concert hall. It's falling really apart, this concert hall. No budget. Many people say things about Mexico, but at least Mexico built a new concert hall. Why we, Europe, the old, let's say, history, we did that all. And now, these days, to build a new concert hall, it's so difficult. Also, repair a concert hall, it's so difficult. I think it's a point of mentality. The mentality should change again. In Germany, of course, they built a new concert hall, the Elbe Philharmonie.
Yes.
They gave the example. Why don't we do that, for example, in Brussels? We have one concert hall, Beaux-Arts, but it's old. We should buy a totally new concert hall, but a perfect one, I think. But why they don't do it? Because I think the mentality is a little bit different, and we should change this mentality again.
If you're saying that your mentality is difficult in Belgium, I cannot imagine, and in Brussels, in the heart of Europe, I can't imagine what you're going to say about the mentality of Cyprus.
Yes, but it is, you say we are the capital of Europe.
Yes.
It's great to have the title, capital of Europe. But where is our capital concert hall? It's amazing. We have wonderful opera house, but we should have also a capital of Europe concert hall. We have Beaux-Arts.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Beaux-Arts is great. I don't criticize that, but I think we should have a second concert hall where you can do many events in different ways. Like in many concert halls these days, it happens. Paris has a new concert hall, for example. You know that. Hamburg built a new one.
Yes.
Berlin has a wonderful. Well, it's about time that Brussels built one too.
Why is there any response from government why this hasn't been done?
Well, Belgium, I'm live on the radio, but I hope they would not kill me. But Belgium is a difficult country. And
Right.
I think why they choose Brussels as capital of Europe, because I think we are very good in diplomacy, in finding the right solution. Why is that? Because we have 3 official languages in this country, in this small country from 11 million people.
Yes.
Very famous today for the football, but also famous for politics, because we have always to handle with 3 languages. And this makes the speed of decisions a little bit slow. So this is also one of the reasons I think that Europe is maybe a good idea, but it goes kind of slow because you have so many languages and everybody needs to be responded in its own language.
So everybody is actually spoken to in their language, so there's a lot of translation, you're saying, actually, and
yes,
bureaucracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Bureaucracy.
That's a lot of bureaucracy. Of course, it's nice what they all do, but I think we could go a little bit faster.
Yes. What are your current and forthcoming projects?
My project will be probably I will have an opera in Serbia. I will do Don Giovanni there.
Yes.
It's my summer vacation now to study this. And then also I go back to Mexico with Bruckner Symphony. So I love it. That will be the first time I will do Bruckner in my life, and I'm really looking forward.
Doing a different repertoire, does that put a lot of stress, or you see it as a challenge and something to embrace?
A challenge for me. It's not stress. Studying a score for me is like almost sailing like a boat on the ocean. No, it's not stressful studying scores. I just love it. It's the most pleasant job I had in my life.
It's been a pleasure to speak to you, Bart. Thank you so much for being on
Likewise,
the program
yeah.
and for sharing your ideas on art and funding.